Welcome boys and girls. In today's video we're installing some mud terrains onto some beadlocks. So let's get into it. So the wheel I'm going with on the SquareBody Overlander is the Raceline RT260M beadlock in the machined aluminum. It is a 17 by 9, 8 by 6.5 bolt pattern, and the tire we're mounting on there is the Kanati MudHog in a 37, 12.5, 17. Should be a pretty straightforward install. For the weights, we're going to be using balance beads, and I got the matching lug nuts with it. So we'll get into putting the soap on the tire, throwing it onto the beadlock, and it should be a pretty straightforward install. All right, that's nice and soapy. First thing you do, take it, set it on there, and fight it over the edge. Alright, and then from there, you gotta just try to get, the bead of the tire in the lip. Alright, as you can see, I got the wheel, or the tire hammered down there on the wheel. So there's a pretty good gap there. So, got it sitting there. Then you put the ring on there and line up the holes. And that's a pretty big gap. That's about a 1/2 inch gap. I know the beadlock ring is supposed to sandwich the bead of the tire itself, but if there's too much of a gap, it could make it uneven, like kind of pulling it towards the inside, which adds side load to the bolts, which can make them shear easily. So luckily I did buy this kit. They're just plastic spacers that go with it. So you take the ring off and you just stick the spacers in there just like that. And then you take the ring and throw it on over the top, get it lined up. And it should take up more of that gap in there, so you don't have like a weird side load on the bolts or anything. So you got all lined up now, and then you just start the bolts. So what I have read is you start it in like a 12, 6, 9, and 3, and you get those snug, and then from there it makes putting in the rest of the bolts a lot easier, and you do a star pattern. Have this one mounted up, and then from there I will mount up the other 4, and then we'll get to seating the bead on the back side and putting in the balance beads. Alright, I got those 4 pretty well snugged down, and now the next step is I'm just going to start putting the bolts in a circle, and then you go in a star pattern. And then from there you could torque them down to they call for 16 to 18 foot-pounds. So we're going to do 16 foot-pounds. Alright, got all the bolts just lightly snug on there. So now the next step is I'm going to go in a star pattern, torquing them down to the 16 and then the 17 foot-pounds. Then we should be good with this one, and we'll move on to the others. All right, we got all 5 of them mounted up. Now I just got to get the bead on there. This one I flipped around because this is the only one I have the balance beads in. So just like that one, I will just cut the bag and pour it in there. Once we have it, figure out a good method on mounting the tire on the rear bead. But wasn't that bad of a process, just time consuming, but we are good to go. All of them are torqued down. Now let's get them mounted on there, aired up to 35 psi, and then we'll throw a couple tires on the truck just to see what it looks like. Got my pops over here airing up the tire. We're on the third one now, but here is the 35 psi in them, and then the other 2 against the shed. Those still need tire beads and aired up. So the method we came up with was I put 2 half cinder blocks on the ground there, right down here, 2 little half cinder blocks, and then from there we put a 5-gallon bucket on top of it, and then we put a t-shirt right inside there, so just to help protect the wheel. And then I just put my body weight on all the edges of the tire while he shot it with air, and it was able to seat the bead down on the inside. And if it didn't seat all the way, it just ended up popping, and the bead popped, or if it was just partial, we just shot enough air in there until it got down enough to pop all the way. But it's going smooth. I mean, 0 issues. Balance beads are going in there easily. After we get the tire all the way together, I just have to push down the edge bead and we just kind of pour it in there. But yeah, it's going smooth. I mean, once I get the other 3 done, then I'll jack up the rear end of the truck. We'll throw them on the truck just to get an idea of what they look like. The wheels are on the truck, and this is how it's sitting. The edge of the bed, or the top of the bed right there, reaches to about my chin. But I just got the lug nuts snug on there, and I'm in love with it. Looks so good. Natalie thinks it's a monster truck, but she'll be wanting to drive it here soon once I actually get it on the road. But yeah, it's looking good. Everything is lining up, no issues. And I don't have to do much trimming, maybe just an inch or so on the edges of the bed right there, just so I don't have much rubbing or any rubbing at all. But I'm extremely happy with it. I'm glad I went with the 37s over the 40s, just so I don't have to trim nearly as much. And I love the machined aluminum race lines. That looks so good. So I'm extremely happy with it. But we are done. I'm actually just going to pull these off and put them in the shipping container just so they stay in good shape while I build the front axle here soon. So stay tuned for those videos. And if you've gotten this far, I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. Tune in for other videos on the truck build. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Comment down below if you think I made the right decision with 37s and beadlocks and race lines. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye, you guys.